Have you ever felt like you're standing on the edge of a cliff, looking into the unknown, wondering what's next? We've all been there, caught between where we've been and where we're headed, with no clear path in sight. The uncertainty of life can weigh heavy on the heart. Yet, in the midst of all the questions, there is one truth that stands firm. God knows what's next for you. Life doesn't come with a roadmap. We often find ourselves walking through seasons where the future is unclear, where we don't know what's waiting for us just around the corner. The uncertainty of what lies ahead can be unsettling, even paralyzing. We spend so much time trying to predict what's coming, to plan every detail, to control our future. But let me remind you of something powerful today. You don't have to know everything. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to step into the unknown and still believe that God has your back. We spend so much energy worrying about what's next that we forget one critical thing. God is not surprised by your uncertainty. He is not caught off guard by the twists and turns of life. The unknown is not a place of fear. When we understand that God knows exactly what's next for us, it's in those moments of uncertainty that He can show us His strength, His wisdom, and His timing. Think about it. How many times in your life has God led you through something you didn't understand at the time, only for you to look back and say, that was exactly what I needed? When you don't know what's next, remember that God does. And the best thing we can do in these times is to trust that He's already ahead of us, preparing the way. Let me tell you something powerful. The unknown is not your enemy. So often we think that uncertainty is something to be avoided, something that stands in the way of our peace, our happiness, and our success. But what if I told you that the very thing we fear most, the uncertainty, is actually the very place where God's greatness shines brightest? We're all wired to want certainty. We want to know what's next. We want to have control. We want the plan laid out before us. But God doesn't work like that. He doesn't need you to have all the answers. He just needs you to trust Him when you don't have them. In moments of uncertainty, we grow. It's when we don't know what's next that our faith is stretched and refined. The moment we surrender our need for control and embrace the unknown is the moment we give God the opportunity to move in ways we could never imagine. God specializes in the unknown. He doesn't need us to see the whole picture. He only needs us to take the next step in faith even when we can't see the next mile. Do you remember the story of Abraham? God told him to leave everything behind, his family, his home, his security, and go to a land he had never seen, to a place he didn't know. Can you imagine the uncertainty that must have been in his heart? Yet Abraham stepped out, not because he knew what was ahead, but because he knew the one who was leading him. And God didn't disappoint. The unknown became a stepping stone to the promises of God. So today, don't be afraid of uncertainty. Embrace it, because in that space of I don't know, God is waiting to reveal Himself to you in a way that will transform your life. Embrace the unknown with the confidence that the one who holds your future is never lost. You may be sitting here today feeling like life is a puzzle with too many missing pieces. You can't see the whole picture, and it feels frustrating not knowing how everything fits together. But let me tell you something powerful. God has a plan for you, and His plan is greater than anything you could ever design for yourself. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the world, the deadlines, the pressures, the expectations. We start to believe that if we don't have it all figured out right now, we've somehow missed the mark. But trusting God's plan means resting in the knowledge that He's already mapped out your future, even when you can't see it. The truth is, God's plan doesn't require your understanding, it requires your obedience. We want to know every detail, but God calls us to take the next step in faith, even when we can't see the road ahead. Think about Joseph in the Bible. His journey was filled with betrayal, prison time, and heartache. Yet, in every step of his life, God was working a plan that Joseph couldn't see at the time. It wasn't until the right moment came that Joseph could look back and see the purpose in his pain, the meaning in his struggles. So today, I want you to know, your life is not a random series of events. God has already written the story, and He is guiding you every step of the way. Trust that even when things don't make sense, His plan is still unfolding, and it's leading you to greater things than you could ever imagine. How many times have you found yourself wondering, why is this happening right now? Why am I still waiting? We often struggle with God's timing because it doesn't match our own. We want answers today. We want progress now. But God works on a timetable that is different from ours. But let me remind you of something today. God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. We are often impatient, rushing through life, trying to get to the next stage, the next level, the next breakthrough. But God's timing isn't rushed. It's precise. It's intentional. It's deliberate. Every delay, every pause, every waiting season has purpose. And what seems like a setback in your life may actually be God's way of preparing you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. Think about the story of David. When God anointed him as king, he didn't immediately take the throne. Instead, he spent years running, hiding, fighting battles, and learning to trust God in ways he never could have imagined. David's waiting season wasn't a punishment. It was preparation. God was developing his character, strengthening his faith, and building the resilience he would need to rule the nation. So, if you're waiting today, waiting for a breakthrough, a door to open, a change to happen, remember this: God's delay is not a denial. It's a sign that He is at work in your life, preparing you for what's next. You are right where you need to be. And when the time is right, He will open the doors that no one can shut. Trust in His perfect timing, because God is never late. He is always right on time. How often do we find ourselves praying, asking God for something specific, convinced that we know exactly what we need? Maybe it's a job, a relationship, financial stability, or healing. We make our requests known, hoping that God will give us exactly what we've asked for. But what happens when God doesn't answer the way we expect, or when He says, not yet? Here's the truth. God knows your needs better than you do. He sees things you cannot see, understands what you truly need in ways that go far beyond your own understanding. Sometimes we think we know what's best for us, but God, in His infinite wisdom, knows what we need at the right time. In the Bible, Jesus tells us that if we, being human, know how to give good gifts to our children, how much more will our Heavenly Father give us what we truly need? But the key here is that God gives us what we need, not always what we want. It's easy to get caught up in desiring things that we think will fulfill us, things that may look good in the moment, but might not be what's best for our growth and future. Look at the example of the Apostle Paul. He asked God to remove the thorn in the flesh, something that caused him immense pain. Yet God did not remove it. Instead, He told Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." 2 Corinthians 12:12. In other words, what Paul thought was a need wasn't actually what he needed most. What he truly needed was to experience God's strength in his weakness. When you feel like God is not answering your prayers in the way you expected, remember that He knows exactly what you need. Sometimes the things that are held back from us are not denials, they're divine protection. Trust that God sees your needs from an eternal perspective, and His provision will always be in perfect alignment with your purpose. God will provide exactly what you need when you need it. When you're in the midst of a season of uncertainty, it's easy to feel like you're stuck, or that Nothing is happening. You may be looking around wondering why your breakthrough hasn't come yet, why your prayers seem unanswered, or why things are moving slower than you hoped. But here's the truth. God is preparing you for blessings that you can't even imagine right now. What you see as waiting is actually divine preparation. God never wastes a season. Every moment of waiting, every challenge, every setback is a part of His plan to prepare you for what's next. You might not understand it in the moment, but every step is making room for the blessings God has in store for you. Think about the Israelites. They wandered in the desert for 40 years, not because God had forgotten them, but because He was preparing them to enter the promised land. That desert experience, though difficult, was necessary for them to grow in faith, to rely on God, and to be equipped to handle the blessing that was coming. The promised land was waiting for them, but they needed to be ready for it. Your blessings may be just around the corner, but God will only release them when you're prepared to steward them well. God doesn't just give you blessings, He prepares you for them. Sometimes He's strengthening your character, teaching you patience, or refining your heart before He opens the door to your next season. The unseen blessings are being built as you walk through the unknown. So don't despair in the waiting. God is at work in ways you can't see. He's shaping your future even when you don't feel it. And when the time is right, He will pour out blessings on you that will far exceed what you could have ever imagined. Keep trusting, keep growing, because your preparation is positioning you for the breakthrough that's on its way. There is something powerful that happens when we choose faith over fear. Fear wants to paralyze you, make you question your future, doubt your purpose, and second-guess every decision you make. Fear will try to convince you that the unknown is too risky, too dangerous, and that you are not equipped for what lies ahead. But faith doesn't just acknowledge the unknown, it steps into it with confidence, knowing that God is already there. Let's be real. Fear is natural. It's human to be afraid of what you cannot see, to be anxious about what you cannot control. But here's the key. Fear is a liar. Fear tells you that you're not enough, that you won't make it, that you're too small for the challenge. But faith reminds you that God is enough, that He has already gone before you, and that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Think about Peter walking on water. He stepped out of the boat in the middle of a storm, a situation that seemed impossible. For a moment, his faith kept him on the water. But the moment he allowed fear to overtake him, he began to sink. Faith keeps you afloat, but fear will drown you. You don't have to know what's next to take the next step. What you need is to step out in faith, trusting that God is right there with you, even in the unknown. Fear will always try to tell you that you're not ready, that you're not capable, but faith will tell you that with God, you are more than enough for what's next. The fear of the unknown can keep you stuck, but faith in the one who holds your future will propel you forward even when you can't see the full picture. So today, choose faith over fear. Step into the unknown with confidence, knowing that God is already ahead of you, preparing the way. Don't let fear control your steps. Let faith guide you to His final destination. What happened? God used those very situations to position him for greatness. Joseph went from the prison to the palace, and God used him to save a nation. His present didn't define his future. God did. Today, whatever you're facing, remember this: your future is in God's hands. Your circumstances may try to tell you one thing, but God's plan tells you something far greater. You are not stuck. You are being positioned, prepared, and shaped for the purpose that God has for you. Your current reality is just the beginning, not the end. So don't let where you are now make you think that's where you'll always be. God is moving you forward. Your present is just a chapter in the book, but it's not the whole story. Keep pressing forward because the best is yet to come. Your future is brighter than you think, and God is already working behind the scenes to to bring you into a place of abundance, peace, and purpose. Don't let today's struggles convince you that your future is limited. Your future is limitless with God. In a world that demands instant results and quick fixes, perseverance is a trait that's often overlooked. Yet, perseverance is key to unlocking what God has next for you. It's easy to start something, to be passionate when things are going well, but real growth and breakthroughs happen when you keep pushing forward, even when it feels like nothing is happening. God is not only concerned with the destination, but with what happens on the journey. Every step you take, even when it feels like you're not moving forward, is part of His perfect plan. Perseverance is not just about enduring the hard times. It's about allowing God to refine you in the waiting, in the struggle, and in the process. Think about the story of the Apostle Paul. He didn't have a smooth journey. He was shipwrecked, imprisoned, beaten, and mocked. But through it all, he persevered. Why? Because he knew that God was at work in him and through him, even in the hardest moments. And Paul's perseverance led to powerful ministry that reached the ends of the earth. If he had quit halfway through, we wouldn't have the letters, the encouragement, and the teachings that we hold dear today. Perseverance means you keep moving forward even when the road is tough. It means you don't give up when the promises seem distant or when the struggle feels overwhelming. Perseverance is trusting that God is not finished with you yet. He's still working, still shaping you, still preparing you for the breakthrough that's coming. So, when you feel like quitting, when the weight of the journey feels too heavy, remind yourself that your perseverance will bear fruit. God is working in ways you can't see. And every step of faith you take is positioning you for the future He's promised. Keep going, keep trusting, because the reward for perseverance is always greater than the sacrifice. God honors those who don't give up. We live in a world that tells us to take control, to plan every detail, to manage every outcome. We believe that if we hold tightly to the reins of our lives, we can steer our future in the direction we want. But I'm here to tell you something that might be uncomfortable. True peace comes when you let go of control and trust God's lead. The truth is, you were never meant to carry the weight of control. It's exhausting, it's overwhelming, and ultimately it leads to frustration. We may think we're in control, but we're not. Life happens, things change, doors close. Let's look at the example of Abraham once again. God called him to leave everything he knew and follow him into the unknown. Abraham didn't have a map, a clear plan, or any guarantees about what was ahead. But what he did have was trust. He let go of his own need to control the outcome and chose to follow God's lead. In letting go, Abraham stepped into the greatest blessings of his life. When you surrender control, you are opening yourself up to God's perfect will, His perfect timing, and His perfect plan. Control is a false sense of security. It makes us feel like we're safe, but the truth is, God's security is far greater than anything we can create for ourselves. He holds your future, your path, your destiny in His hands. When you let go and trust Him, you're saying, God, I believe that You know what's best for me, even when I can't see it. So, today, release the need to control. Surrender your plans, your fears, your anxieties, and trust that God will guide you to where you need to go. Let go of the weight that isn't yours to carry, and watch how God works in ways you could never have orchestrated on your own. He's got it all under control. All you need to do is follow His lead. Have you ever found yourself dreaming big, thinking of the future and imagining the best that life could offer? And yet, despite our best ideas, God's plans for us are always bigger, grander, and more incredible than anything we can imagine. Sometimes we can get so focused on our own dreams that we forget how vast God's vision is for our lives. Here's the thing, our dreams are limited by our experiences, our understanding, and our vision. But God sees the whole picture. He knows what you need, He knows what you can handle, and He knows what will bring glory to His name through your life. What seems impossible to you is nothing for God. He can do more in a moment than we can accomplish in a lifetime of trying. Think of the story of Joseph again. As a young boy, Joseph's dreams were big. He dreamed of his family bowing to him. But God's plans for Joseph were even bigger than his own imagination. What Joseph didn't know at the time was that God was preparing him to save a nation and to become second in command over Egypt. Joseph's dreams were just the beginning of what God had in store for him. God had a purpose that was far greater than anything Joseph could have imagined. In the same way, your plans may feel big to you, but God's plans are immeasurably greater. He has a purpose for you that is beyond your comprehension. The Bible says in Ephesians 3:20, "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is in a season of waiting." It's easy to get overwhelmed, to feel like you're walking blind, unsure of what the future holds. But I want to remind you of something that will change your perspective today. God knows exactly what's next for you. You might not have all the answers, and that's okay. But you have something better. You have a God who sees the end from the beginning, a God whose plans are greater than your own, a God who is walking with you, guiding you, and preparing you for what's to come. When life feels uncertain, remember this: God is working behind the scenes. You are not alone in the unknown, and you are not left to figure it all out by yourself. His timing is perfect, His plans are flawless, and His love for you is unshakable. Every challenge you face, every setback, every season of waiting is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It's a sign that He is preparing you for something greater. He's refining you, strengthening your faith, and positioning you for the blessings He has for you. You may not see it now, but God is working in ways you cannot yet understand. So let go of the fear, let go of the doubt, and trust that God's promises are true. You are on a journey, and though you may not know every step ahead, you can rest assured that God does. His plans for you are bigger than you can imagine, and the best is yet to come. Keep walking in faith, even when you can't see the way forward. God knows what's next for you, and His plans for your life are filled with purpose, peace, and a future that's brighter than you can even begin to comprehend. In conclusion, no matter where you are today, trust that your tomorrow is in God's hands. He knows what's next for you, and when you put your trust in Him, He will lead you to places you never dreamed possible. Keep faith, keep hope, and know that your future is secure in His hands.